Hi, it's Katrina and today I have my February book haul. These first two are charity shop buys that I got when I was with my boyfriend in Oban recently. I found the movie edition of The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. This is one of my all-time favourite books and I love the movie as well. It stars Kirsten Dunst and some other people. It's written in the first person plural, like a Greek chorus of these neighbourhood boys who are just watching the decline of this family. It's five sisters, all of whom commit suicide, and it's very, very sad, and it's just really atmospheric and really fascinating, and I was really excited to see the movie edition of this. This is the edition I actually originally read, but I love having the movie edition of it as well, because this isn't something I'd be able to find probably nowadays, because the movie came out in 1999, so I was 6, and I didn't think to buy it at the time. The other one I found on this trip has actually turned out to be a bit of a disappointment. It's the Collected Tales of Nikolai Gogol. Nikolai Gogol is a 19th century writer, originally from Ukraine, who moved to St. Petersburg, and he wrote both short fiction and novels, and this is a collection of his short fiction. I've been wanting to read more Russian fiction this year, and I got about 2 stories through this and I could not go on. I found the translation of this really difficult to get through. This was translated by Richard Peaver and Larissa Volokhonsky, and I think it's extremely true to the original Russian, but to the detriment of English readers. I've actually found an article online that explains really well and exactly how I feel the problems that this translation has, and I'll link that below with the first link in the description box. But some of the sentences were just in the wrong order for a native English speaker. The metaphors were translated very literally, and I found it difficult to read, and I don't generally find things difficult to make sense of, and given this is a relatively modern translation, that should just not be the case, and I've decided to DNF this, and it's a shame because I'm sure the stories themselves were good, but I just did not want to read it at all. And that discovery of the problem I have with this translator is actually spurred on one of the other purchases in this haul. As we've spoken about before, read Anna Karenina earlier on this year, loved it, bought War and Peace as well, but the problem is my copy of War and Peace is translated by the same people as that translation, so Richard Peaver and Larissa Volokhonsky, and now I'm kind of wary of this translation. Also, I didn't realise when I first bought it, it's my own fault for not looking at it, but huge sections of this are in French, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, okay, but this whole first chapter is in French, and then it's starred down at the bottom like a footnote, as opposed to just translating it or saying, in French he said, and I think something ridiculous like 10% of War and Peace is actually in French, so it's going to be really difficult to read. So I've purchased this copy of War and Peace, and this is translated by Louise and Aylmer Maude, who did the translation for Anna Karenina that I read earlier on this year and loved so much. This is the TV adaptation cover, which didn't hurt when I wanted to buy it because I love that adaptation, and even having just read the first chapter of this compared to the first chapter of the other translation, this was just so much easier to read. And I mean, this is like a 1,000-page book. I don't need it to be any more difficult to read than it already is going to be. War and Peace is a really famous novel spanning over many years. This is set mainly in St. Petersburg, but also on the battlefields of Russia, both before, during and after their invasion by Napoleon Bonaparte. It's really annoying that this is the Peaver and Volokhonsky translation, because the matching Russian Vintage Classics edition is the Maude translation, which is the one I really like, of Anna Karenina. I've bought this one to replace the edition that I read from, which I'm going to give away to a charity shop because this one was so beautiful I just couldn't say no to it. So also I like this one. I'll link my review of Anna Karenina above if you'd like to go see it. This is a really rich novel set between St. Petersburg and Moscow. Life, love, tragedy, death, birth, everything. I love it. This one I'm actually hauling a little late, but this is Bitter Spirits by Jen Bennett, and this was actually gifted to me for Christmas by Hannah over at Cup of Wonderland. Thank you very much, Hannah. I looked on Goodreads and she actually gave this 5 stars, so I'm excited for it. This, I believe, is an urban fantasy novel set in the 1920s. I'm hoping for speakeasies, and I think there's a medium. The main character's a medium, so yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Next up, I have Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. This is the third and final book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which I've been reading so far this year. You can see them above my head, first and second, and I love this trilogy so much so far. Can't wait to get to this. I'm gonna get to it very, very soon, I'm sure. This is a high fantasy trilogy with ships and dragons and magic. My review of the second book is actually my next video, and my review of the first one is already up on my channel, which I will again link above if you'd like to go see it. Towards the end of 2016, I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and I loved it, so I picked up The Haunting of Hill House. So I believe this is a ghost story, secluded house, group of young people, including a scientist, and things go awry. That's all I know, but it sounds great to me. The next I picked up in Tesco for deliciously cheap, and that is The Princess Diaries by Carrie Fisher. This was released just before Christmas, and of course Carrie Fisher very sadly died just after Christmas. I am a Star Wars fan, particularly in the last few years, because my boyfriend really is a Star Wars fan and he's got me more into it. But I've always loved Carrie Fisher as a person. Anything I've ever seen with her in it is just hilarious. She's such a strange but just amazing person, and I'm excited to read some of her writing. Next two are both by George Eliot, the first of which is Middlemarch. I'm really excited to read this. I'm going to be reading it in March as part of a group read being hosted by Jen over at Insert Literary Pun here, which I'll link all the information for that below, but the hashtag on Twitter is Middlemarch March. This is a really gorgeous cover. It's nice and floppy. I really enjoy these vintage red spine editions. I honestly don't know that much about this, but it's a classic, and I believe there's romantic elements, and it's a English countryside village kind of novel, so I'm excited for it. I also picked up The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. I read this many years ago, and I think I must have had a library copy because I don't have a physical copy for it. So when I saw it in this lovely edition, I thought I'll just pick it up at the same time. This follows a brother and sister, Maggie and Tom Tulliver, as they grow up, and they become very different people, but they support one another, and it's just really sweet, and I'm looking forward to rereading this soon. And last but not least, I think the prettiest book in this whole haul is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've not got around to this book yet because it's so hyped and everyone just says it's the best book they've ever read and it swept them away and they've never read anything like it, and I'm a bit nervous of not liking it, which is just stupid, but it's accurate. And this is a really a beautiful vintage classics edition. I love that they've added the little jester on top of the logo at the side. I believe this is a slow sort of setting driven novel with not that much plot, but I believe it's very atmospheric, and it's just about this circus that arrives at night and then is gone in the morning. Like I say, I'm kind of intimidated by this book, but I look forward to picking it up someday soon, hopefully. So that's my February book haul, a good mixture of things, a lot of classics which I'm really excited about, only the one dud, the Nikolai Gogol, which like I say I am giving away, but now I guess I've learnt to pay more attention to the translators and to give the language a go before I pick up the book. Please subscribe to see more videos from me. Next week I'm doing the Harry Potter book tag, which I'm really excited for. You can also follow me on Goodreads and Instagram and Twitter, all of which are linked below. Thanks for watching. Bye.